We got lots of stuff to get into. Max Pata pulled an interesting Jon Stewart, Jake Tapper conversation. I have some stats that I think you'll find interesting. And hot prom or grad night. No, homecoming. Homecoming was the big thing at the Carolla house. All the kids over, big deal, blah, blah, blah.
Is Sonny into that?
Get into that. No, he's not into it, but he did sort of participate in it. Natalia's into it, and I had about 30 kids at my house. I say kids, I don't know, they're teenagers now.
Let me guess, is she in the homecoming court?
I don't think they didn't do it in the traditional way. They did the game on Friday night and then the party on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like what we had, which is the float or somebody.
You go in like a top-down car around the track.
You know, you kind of think about it like if one guy had a 66 convertible Mustang, he was the biggest shit in the neighborhood. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's got a car with a roof
full stop
that's made of fabric. and you know what you could do? You could push it back.
Stop.
And it'll make a pile in the back. And then you could sit on it with no roof. It was like,
does he want some pussy?
That car's about a $6,000 car. Back in the day, now it'd be a $28,000 car, but it was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's red.
Oh.
Don't even look at it. Don't even think about getting near it. Like if you were carrying a Capri Sun and you stood too close to it, he would hit you with the hose. Yeah. You know what I mean? Get away from the car with the drink.
You have to count the squirt bottle.
Right. Think about like all the weird rules. Like he's got that car, keeps it in his garage. He doesn't like you going in the garage. You know, whoever the kid of that guy was, tons of rules.
Oh yeah,
rules like about like you could go into the garage and get a Nerf ball or something out of the garage, but don't put your bike in the garage when the car's in the garage. Right. The bike could fall over and scratch the car.
And when you go to get the Nerf ball, hands up.
Yeah, it was
slide sideways.
Above, there were so many. Now, of course, my dad never had that car. He never had a garage, but I had a few friends whose parents had that car, and it was like lots of discussions about protocol. Just like, you know, mom said, don't play ball in the house. Like it was everything was a big deal. If anything got a scratch in it, if anything, you know, 2,000 rules about where you could eat, where you couldn't eat, where food could you could bring food. Yeah. And like back in the day, if you were just like eating on a paper plate in the house with some potato salad and some chicken, and you just picked it up and started walking out, but where are you going? You can't move around with a plate with food on it.
Yeah.
It was like,
what's next?
It was like, yeah, it was sorry.
Slippery slope.
I told you, I got sent home from a sleepover because I accidentally kicked over somebody's strawberry shake from McDonald's. It was on the floor.
Yeah, where you ate. There's a few items that the parents had. Mom may have had something, a vase, some jewelry, or something like that.
A Precious Moments figurine.
Dad may have had a pickup truck or something. You couldn't get near it. You know, it's lots of weird discussions about you don't touch the bare fender, the oil in your hands.
There's not a Mona Lisa.
There's a million rules about everyone's shit, and everyone's shit wasn't worth jack squat either. That car from the homecoming, it was $6,000 all in. But it was a big deal because the roof went down and then 2-3 kids could pile in the back and sit up on the boot and then drive around the track at 4 miles an hour. And that was and by the way, it was a thrill to the kids that got to sit.
Oh, dude.
You sit in that Mustang and go 8 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. So not Natalia?
No, they're first off stuff. I mean, maybe it's China, maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's just it's not a tax bracket thing because whatever you are, you've got video games and phones and goggles and shit. There's just plastic shit everywhere. Stuff doesn't really
move the needle.
Doesn't amount to much anymore. Like, you know, if you got a kid back in the day, if you got a kid like a remote control airplane or something, you build your world around that remote control car, airplane. Like that was
You're the king of the block.
You get 7 years use out of that shit. That should take you through college. Now it's like you get the kid a drone. He kind of looks at it,
plays around with it a little bit.
monkeys around, and then it's done, one and done. Like off to the next thing.
I was thinking about as you're describing. I'm like, God, that sounds horrible. I wouldn't want to be part of that family. Whatever family has the thing, the stuff. The whatever. Then I remembered my mom late in life, like when I was in college, got like as a decorative item or whatever, a vintage typewriter, right? Like like an old school, like cool typewriter. And every fucking kid who came over, whether it was a younger cousin or a kid's, a friend's kid, what do you think they wanted to play
touch
with?
it, bang on it.
It's an old person's house. The one thing that's cool is the typewriter.
Right.
And of course, the ribbon would get all messed up. My mom would always be like, "Oh, it's not a toy. It's not a toy." It's like, Mom, it's eye level to all the kids. All they want to do is pound on the typewriter.
Brian, I hate to be a one-upper, but
Please.
when my grandmother died, we had her full player piano shipped to Kansas with all of the scrolls. 100
the scrolls.
That would just
Paper.
disintegrate in your hands, yellow
holes
scroll.
in it.
And if
Yeah.
you thought we were allowed to touch that, you are insane.
Yeah, we didn't. The closest I ever got to a player piano was the Shakey's in North Hollywood.
Sure.
Probably still there, Gina. I don't know. Up the street from you?
Right around the corner.
Yeah, I know. I took a little stroll through your neighborhood yesterday because I
sorry.
went to go visit my mom, who's at my grandmom's house, who's
getting worse and
probably
worse.
a block from where you are. But yeah, you could go. You could go and watch the player piano at Shakey's.
The automated one.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
The big thing in our house was, your grandmother never had this automated. Like, that was the big deal. You still had to pedal it.
Oh, you had to pedal it.
As though you were doing something?
As little kids, because you had the stool that went up and went down that came with it. And as kids, it was so hard. You had to hold on to the bottom of the piano and
to get the leverage.
with all of your might. Yeah.
Did you guys have pizza and pipes, or was that a Bay Area
Never
thing?
heard of it.
They had a giant
we had
harpsichord.
Shakey's.
They had a giant harpsichord that did.
Right.
It sounds like the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know why it just jumped into my mind, but a medium ticket item that would keep me occupied for an entire afternoon would be a set of crutches. If there was a set of crutches around the house, I was like, I can walk. The key was tuck your feet up and see if you can take 3 steps with the crutch. That was an entire Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I
Kids love
could
crutches.
occupy myself.
You ever turn
with
upside
crutches.
down using the stilts?
Yes, yeah. Then there was upside down
Terrible idea.
stilt angle. Right.
Okay.
All right. So enough about our old poor childhood.
My mean grandma, speaking of stuff you couldn't touch, my mean grandma would record movies off the TV. That was like her thing, I guess, her hobby. And she would leave. She would yell at me silently through Post-its. It would be a Post-it on the VCR saying, "Recording, don't touch," all capital letters. She yelled at me. She wasn't there.
Yeah. No. My grandmother later in life, when she had a currency, because the thing is you think about this perfect little window in time. Back in the late 80s, even up to the later 90s, VHS tape with a good movie on it was a currency.
Of course.
Oh, dude, you line that shit out, write the person's name down.
If I knew, I had a friend or two whose dad had a porn or two.
Oh,
that was a big
big
ticket
time,
item.
big time.
I mean, we didn't care if you liked the kid or anything. You were hanging out. Of
course.
Like that you needed. It was sort of like, hey, I got to play. It's my ball.
Right.
It's my porn. When my grandmother, as I've told you guys, had just stacks and stacks from my grandfather was in the academy. Every year they'd send over 15, 20 movies.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while, you'd get hold of a movie before it hit the theater or
course.
whatever.
Big time.
Now, my grandmother knew that was currency. Now, nobody wanted to visit her mean old ass, but she had the movie. Sure. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
Sandlot, you had to get your ball.
and she knew the score. Like, you just call her up. Hey, how you doing, Nana? Why? Just checking in.
well.
Yeah,
Have you heard of Schindler's List?
just checking in. Just checking in. Thought I'd pay you a visit. You wouldn't talk about the movie.
Oh,
Then
sure.
you'd go by, pay a visit, stay about 45 minutes, and be like, on the way out, maybe I just see if there's. Well, don't go.
Got anything new?
And then it was a big thing. It was like, I promise Schindler's List to Jules Mandel. well, he's not here, Well, he's
expecting
getting
it.
it. That was her bait
Yep.
to get Jules Mandel to come over, And I was like,
Smart.
what if I'll just take it tonight.
I'll watch it by tomorrow morning. It'll be under your-
I'll put it in
under
your
your mat.
mailbox when I'm
How can I
going
be
to work.
sure?
Where I was like she never. The key to mean grandmas is zero trust.
Oh, yeah.
Right, of course.
Zero trust. I had an interesting thing with Natalia last night is I was heading out during the day to visit my mom. I was going out to dinner. I said, she said, can you pick me up, me and my friends, in front of the school tonight at 9:30?
Your mom said that?
This is Natalia.
That makes more sense.
And this was like, it was about noon. And I said, yeah, I'll pick you and your friends up 9:30 in front of the school. And she went, don't be late. And I said, do you know me to be late?
Yeah, who
Have
you
I ever
talking to?
been late? And she went, nope. And I went, all right, well, there you go.
End of discussion.
End of discussion. And it was nice. I think she threw in the don't be late because she's probably just used to it.
Right.
But once I said, you don't know that I'm late, do you? And she's like, nope, you're not.
You should have gone full force into it and said, and by the way, wheels up at 9:30. If you're not there, I'm going home.
Well, my
You don't be
grandmother, my grandmother, when you're mean, I guess you have all these. She would do this stuff where she'd go, "I know you can't read. I know you don't, whatever." And I'd go, "No, I can read. I'm not. I don't read books. I'm not a good reader, but of course I can read." Well, she'd do a lot of that
Right.
kind of. She'd do stuff like, if WHFS was going to fly me in a private jet to DC to go out to RFK Stadium and bring out Bananarama, she'd go like, well, you got to keep the boss happy. And then I'd go like, no,
an honor.
they're doing it. I'm doing them a favor. Well, you got to,
dance for the
they're
man.
Company
they're cutting
line.
the checks. And I'd be like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm flying in a fucking private jet. They're providing it. All right. So she would always take that kind of like,
What are you going to do?
But she had those movies, and she realized late in life, nobody wants to visit grandma late in life, but she's got this bounty
Smart.
of first run movies, and everyone wants them. And by the way,
I've got the English patience.
yeah, she's got her grandkids, she's got her
Neighbors.
daughters, she's got her friends,
Yeah.
and they're all remember. That was a big deal because the shit might come out at the Blockbuster in 3 or 4 months or whatever it is. You had to wait. There was
Yeah.
a steeping period, but my grandfather was getting shit that was in the theater.
Yep.
It'd come out Christmas Day limited, right? Then it would hit like the big, the multiplexes maybe in January,
Yeah.
Right.
January, and then the VHS on.
Well, this was
home
definitely
video.
happening in the late 90s because my friend's brother was already working in New York, I think for Sony or something, and we get him, and that was VHS.
Yeah, I told you my grandmother had a. It's just that.
The fork in the road.
No, the
I thought you
DVD.
meant the DVD. Yeah,
It's kind of
I
my.
consider that a fork in the road.
It's kind of I'm exhaling because I did not know. I oftentimes think about, like, as an adult, how often I said to somebody, "Look, here's what you need to do," or whatever, and they go, "Yeah, fine, I'm doing something else," and it never worked out. But my grandmother, they started at a certain point sending the Academy. It was like, check DVD if you want the DVD instead of the VHS. Otherwise, we'll keep sending the VHS. And I said, oh, check the DVD. First off, after about 20 years of VHS tapes, it takes up an entire wall
Yep.
of,
Oh, yeah.
like a
of a
thick
small
book.
bedroom.
Yeah.
Like they just keep
My
adding
grandma had
it.
a hutch.
Right.
Yeah, like one of those ones you pull open.
Yeah,
It was-
sure.
Yeah, they had a closet/guest bedroom, which is the one I guess my dad slept in. It's about 4 or 5 feet wide.
You slept in
and
a
about
VHS closet?
9 feet long. It was literally a closet
Great.
/ you could sleep in it if you put a small bed in it. But that room ended up being dominated by these movies. So I just said to her, get the DVD. And she's like, I don't have a DVD player. And I said, I'll buy you a DVD player. I'll have someone come over here and hook it up. Get the DVD. And she's like, okay. Never got. She was like, fuck that. She just kept her feet. That's how
Just
they
Save it
roll.
to
took
the
one
grave.
check mark.
Yes. Now, yeah, everything degrades. Everything's junk. Or who cares anymore? Anyone can get anything. Anyway, but I was Speaking of movies, I had a conversation with my mom, which was a kind of we had a very on-brand conversation. Which
She loved No Time to Die.
My mom.
Great to eat scones too.
My mom is one of the weirdest question. She's a non-question asker. So when
No
you
follow-ups.
when you talk to her, she just she'll sit there and she'll just sit there silently. Like she could go, oh, "What have you been up to?" And you'd go, "Rhino hunting," and she'd go, "Okay."
Okay.
There
And
you
you
go.
just sit there,
How
and
about
then
that?
she'd go, "Norma, thanks," and then you would talk about scones. And so my mom also has this thing, which she thinks is sort of an out, but it's really a tell, which is both my parents, and by the way, God bless you if you get either one of these parents. There are people, parents, sometimes coworkers. I think we may know these people, husbands and wives. They sort of declare themselves incompetent,
Sure.
and then you leave them alone.
Sure.
Now here's the thing. There's a couple versions. We all know the tightwad person,
Right.
and the tightwad person kind of gets left alone when it comes like someone goes, "Oh, we're going to buy some beers." Okay, leave
Chip
Jason
in.
alone. We'll go get like
Sure.
they train you.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
Frank Murphy, the producer of Kevin and Bean, was the tightwad person, and so when me and Frank and Kevin and Bean and Jimmy would go out to breakfast. We do kind of a round robin on who paid, but not Frank. Frank's out of the discussion because he's cheap guy.
And
So
it's-
he'd go out to breakfast, but it'd be like, now whose turn is it?
Nice.
And we'd skip over Frank and go to Kevin or Bean. It's also bad back guy.
Oh, yes.
The guy with the bad back. He doesn't have to help you move. He doesn't have to help. I got a bunch of outdoor furniture from IKEA. Can you come over and help me assemble? It's like, no.
We know
I'd
not
love
to.
to.
ask.
Once you establish yourself as bad back guy or cheap person, you get left off a lot of lists.
I'm sure Frank Murphy made a decent living, so the cheap.
Well, you made a lot more than I made.
Well, that's my point.
Or Jimmy.
The
probably.
tightwad guy or tightwad person in your life, it's never for a lack of money. It's a mindset. Like
Right.
we had a guy in our fraternity, Michael Price. I love Michael. This gets back to I love Mike. He was known as the guy who would always come to your room in the frat house and like bum a beer. Like,
Right.
Hey, he's from New Orleans. Hey, man, y'all got some beers?
Right.
Yeah, Mike, here you go, buddy. And Mike had money. Mike came. Mike, he was not a poor.
So he stayed rich.
His dad was like a state senator or something. Like, his dad was well known. Hey, man, y'all got some beers? Yeah, Mike, we got some beers.
Well, my mom's
It's a
thing,
mindset.
my dad's thing is just wild incompetence. So it's basically like living with Bob Denver from Gilligan's Island. Remember Gilligan on Gilligan's Island? Like, it was always like, who's going to get those coconuts? And he'd go, oh, get out of here, Gilligan. I'll get those things.
Sure.
You're going to screw this
Right.
up. You know what I mean? It's a lot of like wild incompetence, can't do anything. But then you very, very quickly get left alone because
Right, it's great.
you'd go like, you might go, my kid at some point, my daughter and my son at some point, they said, my daughter's like, I want to build one of these beds on a riser with the drawers built in and a staircase.
Can do.
And my son was like, I want a loft with a ladder. If you'd went to my dad and went, hey, Dad, I want to build a loft, he'd be like, what do you mean?
Set the place on fire and run.
Yeah,
What am I supposed to do?
What's plywood? Like, he wouldn't have. But here's the thing: you would have never said that to him
Right.
because it
You
would have been
would've
like, going to a homeless person and go, I want to do a startup company. You in? Like, you'd leave him alone. So my mom's thing is doesn't know anything about anything. Had never heard of it, doesn't know what you're talking about. So you get out of every conversation because he's like, I'm not familiar with that group or that brand or that thing, or I've never seen that commercial. Like, I don't know. It just, it stifles every conversation because you don't realize so many of your conversations are, you bring up something, but you don't explain. Like, if you had to have a conversation where DJ Khaled is this fat Arab guy who doesn't, he's not a musician. Like, all of a sudden, you're not having the conversation anymore.
Right.
You're describing what everything is.
Right.
It's like you're saying, do you want some fruit salad? And they go, what's fruit?
And what salad?
And you go, well, papayas? Or,
There's no fruit
okay,
reference.
they're orange. So now you're not even discussing the subject
You're missing
anymore.
the
So my
point
mom,
completely.
It's a human fire blanket.
my mom tried to get out of somewhat. My mom And then what my mom does too, my grandmother used to do this too, was she would just announce that things were kind of gauche or, like cars, and they were into intellectual pursuits, cars and building stuff
Tacky.
and junk of sports and
Things,
football and
yeah.
things and
Trivial
pop
pursuits.
culture and
Beneath her.
stuff. It's like,
folly.
yes, it was folly. So my mom at a certain point yesterday when I was visiting her, she goes, are you working on any movies that aren't car movies?
Did she really say that?
Yeah. It's like her whole thing was like, are you doing a movie that I, could watch, not just this sort of niche, whatever. Now, of course, I did a movie called Uppity. It was like a civil rights movie. It wasn't a car. We got Willie T. Ribbs' Indy car from 1987, and we studied it. You know what I mean?
Interviewed.
Obviously, that they're not trying to make a series out of it on Showtime because it's a car.
Sure.
It's a study on
Kit.
cars. Yeah, it's Kit from Knight Rider. But she's like, aren't a car movie? And I was like, well, actually, doing a movie on Mad Magazine and doing another one on K-Rock Radio. And she was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
So now she just.
Now what?
Never heard of it.
She sat there silently, and then no discussions, no follow-ups, no questions. And then at some point, stepdad jumped in and went, we went to Italy
Oh, yeah. As did
West
we.
Side.
in Century City. And then we talked about all the nuts and bolts of Italy, about where it was.
Now I
They
have
have
lots of
two
questions.
restaurants there.
Oh, yeah.
That's
buddy.
him saving the day.
One is a little more upscale. They'd ordered a pizza and a pasta dish. It was we took a
This is so great.
deep and detailed Italy. Let me tell you what I know about Italy. I've never been there.
Please,
it's
by all
in
means.
Century City.
Uh-huh. We were just there literally yesterday.
There's two restaurants there.
there are.
Now, just to be fair, they're part of the lunch program where you sign. All the restaurants sign up for the lunch. It's not like they just go out to
Oh, like
lunch.
a Meals on Wheels kind of situation?
It's more of one of those things where for $30 flat rate you
Like a
can
prefix.
eat at any one of these restaurants that is participating in the lunchtime.
I'm in.
Dinella.
Right.
Right,
yeah.
special menu.
Yes.
Lest we think they just went out and dropped $65
I'm very familiar.
on
That-
lunch.
yeah, that was
they're in the
confusing.
system. You know, I've never been there, but
You'd love it.
they have two restaurants. I can't remember if one is a little upscale and one's a little less.
Yeah, one is the upstairs one. The rooftop is a little more upscale, and the one that is on the middle level is a little more casual.
Good view from the upstairs one.
World class.
You can save money by parking in the Gelson's parking lot and getting your ticket validated as if you're shopping at Gelson's, and then make your
Diabolical.
way
Wow.
over to Italy. Very deep dive
If
into
those
Italy.
$4 are very
not
precious
into
to you.
K-Rock,
Yeah,
the documentary.
Just to be sure, this is what you got out of your Mad Magazine discussion?
Mad Magazine and
And-
K-Rock
right.
Led to this.
That you
led
can
to
park
a,
at Gelson's
a
for
deep
Italy.
dive.
Got it.
So that's what I learned, and I learned they had a margarita pizza and a pasta dish. I just heard a pasta dish. We didn't drill
Just
down
just the one.
too deep on that.
The nice thing about Italy is there's stations, so you can get pizza here or some fish over there.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah,
I just want
awesome.
to hear about the K-Rock doc. Can I tell you, I have one picture. I wish I had more, but something happened Friday night when we were eating at our house because, we're not whales like the Carollas at Italy. But we heard the loudest crash outside. And me and the kid and the husband pop our heads up, run outside, and we see this picture, and we're like, oh, damn.
Mercedes hit a
my.
minivan
How did you know that was a Mercedes?
because I can see.
Damn.
I can tell what
Impressive.
It is.
So
I just need one rim.
that is impressive. So we run out. I run across the street, and it was on the main drag. And there's a woman who is like half in, half out of the car on the passenger side.
There's a minivan
It's
that
a
got
full
hit
van, yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
And this
by a Mercedes. Front end is caved
it
in.
is demolished.
Definitely the airbag had to go off.
Every airbag is deployed. So I just see this woman's leg out of the out of the car, and she's holding a dog that's trying to get away from her. So I run over and I grab the leash, and because I think she's probably, traumatized or doing whatever she's doing, I go, "Ma'am, I got the dog. Let go of the leash. Let go of the leash." And I just hear her go, "Leave it!" And I was like, okay. And I backed up. Like, you'd think that was what I was like, okay, she's upset. People are coming out. The person whose van, trust me, I know he just put $8,000 into it because I never stopped talking about it.
Really?
That van. Yeah.
That van?
Yep. So I'm like, what is going on?
In coins or dollar bills? Like, where is it? Hidden in the van? I'm looking at that van.
This was for sure a Coinstar situation.
Wow.
So we're just standing. The woman won't get out of the car, but she's like half in, half out. I'm like, what? Who else is in the car? Are there kids? Are there people? I hear her talking to somebody, and then I realize it's the radio. I'm like, what is happening? She finally gets out of the car. I wish I had a picture of her. Full, like she probably had like a blonde bob cut, but full extensions that were just put in hastily and horribly. A tiny skin tight royal blue dress that you could see full anal cleft.
Oh.
Big spiky heels, a dog that's like running around crazy.
She's the passenger seat?
She's the driver, and she climbed over and she's getting out of the passenger seat. She is unwell.
I was about to say, it's a medication situation.
And I'm looking in there, her car is full of suitcases. And she looks at me, she goes, "I fell asleep." And I was like, "Ma'am," like I'm a cop. I was like, are you drinking? Were you drinking? She's like, "No, I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life."
It's an oxycodone situation.
That's what I assumed. She hit this van so hard. But guess what? I'm not promoting, full Vicodin and driving. Loose as a goose. Walked away with no problem. No scratch, no broken bone. Dog was fine. Finally, because it's LA, a fire truck showed up, and maybe an hour later, no cops, no ambulance, nothing. And then she leaves. The car's still like that. They finally tow it. Then the police show up. I'm like, well, she would have been arrested had the police shown up on time.
It is interesting. Obviously, reminds me of a story, which is like, tons of every freeway sign. Now there's a new one that says drive sober, don't drive the wrong way or something. Yep. It's weird. It confuses
Not wrong way.
Not wrong way.
Not wrong way.
Yeah, it's a weird sign that's befuddled people because we're not sure what the message is or if they're out of characters or something. But there's a lot of drunk driving talk. And like I said, years ago when I was out of town, a drunk driver just rammed into the fence, the wall in front of my house. It rammed into the wall. And Lynette called the cops, and they're like, "Hey, you go down there and check it out."
What are you gonna do?
At night, like home with 2-year-old twins alone at night. Drunken person runs into the
Go
house.
do a little recon.
Just go down there and check it out. The guy literally just backed the car out. You could see where his booze bottles were. They like threw them in the bushes and like called an Uber. Just drove away. And I'm like, hey, guys that are obsessed with drunk driving, there's money on the table here. There you go.
Yep.
It's like
fish in a barrel.
It's like the fish, just jumped into the boat.
Yeah.
Like, don't throw it out.
Right.
It's right there.
And that's what I said. I was like, if she goes to the hospital, do you arrest her there? And Andy was just like, no, it's over. Like, what do you mean it's over? Like, look at what she did. And it hit the car in front. The van got pushed into the
that was a big impact.
Into the wife's car. There was a husband-wife van car situation.
Oh, wow.
So the first thing the wife does, because I'm worried about this woman and her dog. I don't know what's going on. And the first thing she does is run up and go, "You fucking cow!"
That's good. I like that.
So I liked the cut of her jib. But it's just over. Like it never happened.
I'm reverse engineering this because if she was, let's just say, some sort of painkiller situation, opioid, for example, maybe the reason she was sort of loose as a goose, as you say, maybe she's broken inside, but on so many painkillers, she doesn't know it.
That's what I'm saying. And so I built a whole backstory around her. She had tons of suitcases and her dog, and she looked like she was going to work, if you know what I mean. So I'm thinking her plan is to get one last payday with some John and then hightail it away from her pimp.
Well, speaking of Johns, we got Tommy John here.
Oh, good.
Fall. Chaos in your pants and evidently on the open roads as well. Overheating 1 second, freezing the next. Be ready for anything with your Tommy John underwear. It handles everything. I'm wearing mine right now, and yeah, we're at that point. It's really where I'm at. It's cold
Yes.
at night, then it's hot during the day. A lot of big 50-degree temperature swings. Breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric with 4 times the stretch of competing brands. Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics. Over 16 million pairs sold. This fall, upgrade what's underneath with the new Tommy John loungewear. So luxurious, so soft, nice enough to wear out, but comfortable enough to sleep in. Best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free, guarantee, right, Dawson?
Get 20% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/Adam. That's TommyJohn.com/Adam for 20% off. TommyJohn.com/Adam. See site for details.
Well, we got the Rotten Tomatoes game to play. I also saw a commercial for a company. Now, normally I do the sign of the times kind of commercials. And there's another one. I'm trying to think of what it was. I won't send you looking for this. I found another one. But there was a gay couple. It's always funny when you see the gay couples now in commercials. But the thing about the gay couples is they just sort of have them. They're kind of static, like on the sofa. And the one says to the other, like, oh, you want to pick out some furniture? And you go, oh, that's a gay couple. Like, those aren't roommates. But they don't have them, like, hugging or being, they're not actively involved in their relationship, because that's kind of the next step. But there was one just recently where the guy's got his boyfriend, like, they're hugging. He's scared he's going to leave him. But neither here nor there. The commercial.
Product?
No, we got a
Sidebar.
I got a next level sort of societal commercial that I want to talk to you guys about. And we got the Rotten Tomatoes game. We'll do that right after this. Can you imagine? I was like out to dinner with my friend Kevin Hench, who Hench is one of these guys where once he got the info from Vinny about carbs, boom, that's it. That man hasn't eaten a crouton in 4 years. You know, there's that.
Only you stood next to one of those guys for the next 4 years.
Yes. No, I don't even know if he may not, he doesn't have any cheat days or anything. Him and Drew are basically, and you, sorry.
Go on.
But I don't think those guys, I mean, you've taken you go to Hawaii, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Your wife bakes.
Yeah,
I don't know that they've had any vacation days like Drew and Hinch. They're both in amazing shape, but it is kind of weird that some people get the information. It's an interesting thing. So, Kevin Hench gets the information. He's all in. That's it. No more croutons. I get the information. I'm like, all right, that's a rule of thumb, but there's going to be there may be some rice with some of this Chinese food.
Right.
But I'll keep an eye on it. Other people get the information and just double down on positive. Like I know people, everyone's got the info now. They just don't care.
Yeah,
they
because
just
fuck you, that's why.
Just whatever. The answer is I like pasta.
Right.
But we're sitting around discussing our friend Jake, who's a physician now, who's spoken of before, which is he's just one of these impressive guys. This guy from Minnesota, sort of grew up in kind of the sticks, ended up going to Harvard, ended up working as a writer on Jimmy Kimmel Live. We became very good friends, and then at some point he just went, I want to be a physician. And I'm like, well, you got a writing job. This is a dream job. You're 27 and you're writing for Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's like, yeah, I always want to be a doctor. So
My parents wanted me to be a comedy
I'm
writer.
just going to go do that. And then you run into him 3 years, 4 years later, and he says emergency room physician.
Wow.
And now that's what he does. And we're sitting around and talking about all these dialysis kiosk or there was a prop, whatever, the other couple years ago with all these, because everyone hears on dialysis. It's a kind of Hispanic
Affects
thing.
all of us.
Right. And so, it's like we've got a bunch of morbidly obese 30-year-olds just walking around. And I was saying to Hench, a lot of it in SoCal's Hispanic. And I was like, I said, we're at a steakhouse. Order steakhouse, order the spinach, order the broccolini, order the shrimp cocktail, order the chopped salad,
It's all there.
But I said, I can go out to dinner and try to stay on this diet and navigate I can't eat Mexican food. There's no version. You can't go out and eat Mexican. There's
very
no
hard.
non-carb, huge carb-laden version.
Yeah.
Starts with the chips, goes right into the tortillas. It's like
Rice
I
and
can't,
beans.
I don't know what to order.
All you got in Mexican food, someone has been there for me, is fajitas.
Yep.
But
No
then
tortilla.
no sides, no tortilla. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah,
really,
rice and beans.
Yeah.
It's one big pile of carbs, right?
You don't realize how little meat you get in a fajita until you say, give me the keto fajita.
Right. So take that stupid sign that says "Watch out for pedestrians" and say "Easy on the carbs." I mean, there's a bunch of fat
right.
people, and they're all on dialysis, and they don't know. Like they really that's their diet, like tortillas and beans and beef and rice and cheese. Like that. This is good. This is what we do. You know, they don't have the information. Anyway, speaking of information, there was a company called Fairfax. Do you have the commercial? You say you have like a 15-second.
Yeah.
I saw it over the weekend. Oh, yeah, this is probably, I think, the commercial I saw.
Oh,
It's like a 15-second commercial. Got a black
Earn money
chick
as an
in it,
egg donor.
As an Asian guy.
Have you ever considered being an egg donor?
oh, Jesus.
Fairfax Egg Bank donors can earn up to $48,000 for their time and effort. Your egg donation can help a family build their future. Apply today.
So now we're running ads for selling eggs.
It's funny because
I'd love to get the founding fathers in on this. I'd like to do a Gruden-esque film session with the founding fathers.
Gruden's Grinders.
Who are those two
featuring
fellas?
Ben Franklin.
Yeah, who are those two fellas hugging? They're gay. How did they get under that box?
They've not been burned at the stake?
Right.
Brian, you may realize this because this is definitely more your era. But
we go.
don't you remember in college, the only egg donation talk there ever was were flyers around campus?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was it. That was all the egg donation talk there was.
$48K, man.
And how do you get paid for a donation?
Well, never has the word 48K and donation been backed up against one another.
Because you
know
can't
what I mean?
sell body parts. You know. You
Yes,
can't, yeah.
right. It's again, it's garnish your wages.
Right.
Like it sounds good, it's bad. You're going to donate eggs for $48K. Yeah.
This is the
Not a
young
bad deal.
person's version of reverse mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going to pay me for my house?
Right.
Well,
And also, yeah, if you look into it, because trust
No.
me, we all looked into it in college because it was like you could get 15, 20 grand. It is apparently a very involved, very invasive, very painful process.
it's like a lot of shots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stimulating going on. But also, again, I don't know. I was just thinking about professional volleyball player Gabby Reese because she just called me over the last weekend.
Oh,
and
nothing.
Said, hey, come over and hang out in the hot and the cold and
Oh, yeah.
do some
The
pool
tank.
training and do the tank and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, she's 6'3". She's a model. She's an Olympian. Her egg's gonna fetch a
Pretty penny.
pretty penny
Yeah.
on the open market.
That's probably the
It's-
standard, right? World class athlete, gorgeous.
Standard.
No, so the standard.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Not the
high
average,
water
right.
the
mark.
gold
Yeah.
standard.
Right.
the gold, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
not the standard. Right.
For
You
the
know,
rest of us.
it's
Well, the standard by which all others are judged.
Right.
you get paid based on how good your genes are, what your education is. It's kind of interesting, Chris. You should go down that road. Gina, we should see,
Oh,
you know.
fuck. Wait, a 21-year-old Gina?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like we should obviously you got to fill out some shit. They want to know your degree of education, you know, annual income, your height, your weight, you know, eye color. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff they're going to need to know.
Well, and is the same true for sperm donation? I mean, obviously you get like $25 a pop or whatever, but I know women who've done that, and you do get to go like catalog shopping, like the most fun catalog shopping you've ever done.
Well, look at Randy Gerber and Cindy Crawford's kid,
Kaya.
Take a look at her.
Yep.
That's what you get for the high end
Right,
sperm. I
right.
mean, you go, whose egg? Well, it's Cindy Crawford's egg.
Done.
And then whose sperm is it? It's Randy Gerber's sperm. And you go, okay, well, you make an omelet out of that. What do you get?
Right.
You get Kaya.
Take my money.
Right. And then there's other versions of
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
A Rumor Willis, for example.
How dare you?
For example,
Well, that's one.
Bruce Hansen to be more gorgeous.
That's
Rumor handsome.
That's one of those
she's
ones
right.
that you would have paid top dollar for, but you may have wanted a little refund or something.
Work it in the contract.
Kick it back, prorate it or something.
Yep.
Little
I'm
something.
going to come back here in 18 years.
Right. But, and then we know, Danny DeVito married
Rhea Perlman.
You probably wouldn't fetch that seed and that egg, probably wouldn't fetch what the Cindy Crawford egg.
I have to interrupt
right
now. The ultimate example, and they're both beautiful, just not what we, just whose kid is whose. Billy Joel. You knew this
don't
was
say
coming.
Alexa Ray. Come on.
Well, no, because Sailor Brinkley looks exactly like her mother, and the other very fetching lady looks exactly like
but
Billy.
I think maybe more so than the egg with the sperm. The women, they want tall and they want blue eyes and they want the model, and education is good too. But if a guy's a world-class artist, there's got to be some of that DNA floating
Crosby
around
and Melissa Etheridge.
in that as well, where you go, well, he's not as good looking as she is, but he sold 2 billion records. All right. We can go down there. I'm going to butcher this, but I once in a blue moon, something reminds me of some sketch that I used to do at Acme Theater, or that someone else used to do that cracked me up, and I've forgotten most all of them. But one is there was a sketch, Paul Rugg, who's come in here before, who's the voice of the Animaniacs, who I used to write bits with a million years ago. Interesting guy, very funny character actor, and did all these really funny characters. And he did this funny kind of cardigan wearing old man, like everyone's dad, kind of, hey son, corny, the kind of dad that would embarrass you. And there was he did a sketch, and I won't do it justice, but his son owned a video store, circa, this is in the mid-90s. Mid-early 90s, back when there were all those independent little video stores. And his son owned the video store, and his son was like, Dad, I got to run out and go to the dentist or do something, cover for me, but just stay behind the counter. Do not move. Just stay there. People are going to bring the videos. They're going to check them out or whatever. Well, of course, he was the dad, with the cardigan and stuff, and he was sort of wandering around, and he was helping people, but the people getting gay porn and stuff like that. And he was like, well, it's two fellas hugging on it here. Let's see what your Bangus Janus 15.
It's a buddy comedy, obviously.
Ring you up. He was embarrassing the fuck out of everyone, but he was doing this casual dad way that was oblivious
Jovial.
to what was really going on. I don't know, really funny bit. All right, let's do the Rotten Tomatoes game, shall we?
Listen to that noise. It's a high falsetto voice that can only mean one thing, and you can feel it.
Got some names of flicks, and the gang makes their picks, guessing if it's rotten or fresh.
If they guess it exactly, we'll get a bonus 5.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game. You know how we do it. Give me the Rotten Tomatoes game. Now it's time to play it.
All right, so a couple of weeks ago, we played a round based on football movies. But now that the playoffs of America's favorite pastime are upon us, we'll dedicate this week's game to baseball movies. Go Dodgers. Sorry, Dawson, you have to read whatever I write. I actually want the Dodgers to win.
Oh.
We'll start with this one.
Wait a minute. When I said I was a Giants fan, but if the A's got the World Series, I'd be like, hey, you know what? Good for them. Go A's. What the fuck, Dawson?
I live in L.A. I'm a Dodgers fan. That's okay. I'm also
you
an
say
A's
you're an A's
fan.
fan who hates the Giants.
I am the A's fan, and I hate the Giants. They're in the same town.
You also live in
Brian, you're right to be confused.
essentially.
Well, I don't know. There's no. Why is there no confusion?
Because
here?
you said last time that it was not allowed.
It's not allowed to live in one city with two teams and like both teams. Where are the Dodgers? L.A. Where are the A's? Oakland.
Technicality.
And also, you live in kind of Mexico, so everyone around you, the Mexicans love the Dodgers.
Right. I also just more so hate the Giants.
All right.
Okay, now that's clear.
All right.
Costner's 1-2 punch of Bull Durham in 1988, Field of Dreams in 1989, seemed to set off a slew of baseball movies in the early 90s. Per Wikipedia, there are at least 20 major motion pictures about baseball released from 1990 to 1995 alone. While Costner took a long time to return to the plate, a decade later, he starred as a 40-year-old pitcher, quickly approaching the end of his career. Kelly Preston and John C. Reilly co-star in the 1999 romantic drama For Love of the Game.
This is frustrating because I probably should have seen this over the years.
I don't remember this at all.
I just watched the shit out of Waterworld the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Love that movie.
Fun movie.
I enjoy that movie very
Totally
much.
fun. Did not deserve the shit it got.
Dennis Hopper's great.
Yeah. I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but the end it became a little cartoony at the end, but fine. Fun and interesting. There's some innovation in it. All right. I have no idea. I did not see this movie.
He plays like an aging pitcher for the Tigers who has one last great game or something. Even perfect.
Is this like a natural reboot?
No.
Okay.
No, it's modern day. I mean,
But I'm saying like that vibe, like he's an old.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen the movie. I don't think
You've never seen The Natural?
I've seen The Natural.
Oh, okay.
I own
I
The
see.
Natural.
I
I've
see.
never seen this.
Okay.
So the spoiler alert on Waterworld was at the end. They're floating around in their weird dirigible thing. And the kids who they'd saved somehow got snatched back again by the smokers, was down in the ocean. And, I think there's a lot of leaps of faith, and this is a literal leap of faith, but there's a lot of leaps of faith in action movies where, like, Fast and Furious, the car's on the 82nd floor, and Vin Diesel's like, hold on, we're going to the next building.
Buckle up.
The person in the passenger seat never protests enough. Right. You know what I mean? They just go, okay, and they grab the dash. You're like, could you imagine being on the 82nd floor of a building, a commercial building, and a guy's just punching it toward the window? Like,
that's
just
like questions.
No. There'd be a lot of, I'm climbing out of the fucking window. I'm out of this fucking car. But it's a lot of leaps of faith. But Costner, Costner did, and there's that sort of, take my hand, and I'll lower you down. Costner did the ultimate leap of faith. Maybe we can find the end of Waterworld. He's up in the dirigible about 500, 700 feet up above the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
The kid's down in
down?
the ocean. He bungees down, but here's the ultimate leap of faith. They're up in this dirigible. There's a pile of rope. Unknowable how long the rope is. It's unknowable.
It better be messed.
He ties around one ankle, throws it to the guy, and goes, tie it off, and he jumps. Now, the rope could have been 30 feet long.
That's a trust fall.
In which case he just dislocate his ankle.
Right.
Or it could have been 180 feet too long, in which case you would just crash into the water. Also, they're in a wicker basket. I don't know where you tie this. There's no mooring.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, throws it to an old guy and goes, tie it off, and he jumps.
The structural integrity of that basket better be real good.
Also, whoever you hand it to better be able to do a sheep shank in the time you don't.
And quick.
Isn't that guy 112?
You have 9 seconds to securely tie this off because I just leapt head first 400 feet. You don't have 5 minutes. You have 7 seconds, 11. I don't know how long 1,000 feet takes you to do when you do this swan dive, but that was a leap of faith. Tied around.
The ultimate.
Now, I would have tied it around something in the dirigible first.
Right. Are we
and
good?
then
Are we
tied
secure?
it around. He tied around his ankle and dove.
Then just went, yeah.
And by the way,
Fun movie.
in movies like this, no one doesn't hear anyone. Because if that were me,
Huh?
and they'd be like, what do you want?
Wait, say it again.
Where'd he go? Yeah.
Did they ever
Again.
find land?
Yes.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
That's okay.
All right. This movie, they got to use a real baseball team, which is nice. But it's probably disappointment from other Costner movies, baseball movies. I have no idea. Probably a competently made movie. I don't know. You guys in?
Yep.
I'm rotting at 47.
Oh.
I think this movie's pleasant. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I guessed it's 73.
Oh my God. We are all over the board. I think at this point, if he's making a baseball movie, he is being punished for it. So I said 36.
Shit.
For Love of the Game is rotten
Oh, damn it.
at 46%.
Oh, close.
People enjoyed it at 75. We have the end scene. He's up in the dirigible.
Gina, that's a fun movie.
It's
Clearly.
fun. Tie it.
I didn't know he was jumping out of a hot air balloon.
Any woman I've ever had a relationship with, if I threw her the end of a rope and yelled tie it and jump,
Huh?
Tie a perfect sheep shank.
that would never.
No.
There'd be an argument. They'd be yelling at me on the way down.
Your arm's broken. You can't tie
Don't
it.
just throw shit at me. I'm not your slave. Sorry.
Our next film tells the story of an all-female baseball team
Yeah.
that becomes the center of attention when all the young men are sent off to fight World War II. Gina Davis and Lori Petty star as sparring sisters. Tom Hanks, a boozed-up has-been coach, tries to lead them to victory. Rounding out the cast, John Lovitz, Gary Marshall, and Madonna. From 1992, A League of Their Own.
Still a very popular Halloween costume.
What a delightful movie.
Yeah. Everyone loves this movie. And not only do they love, is it a good movie and they like the movie, obviously it gets a little bump because it's all females.
Sisters are doing it for themselves.
Although this was back a little before we cared quite as much. But it's good and it's got the right theme.
Remember when that time period where Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell were best friends because of this movie?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. All right. It's high, but how high is it?
Penny Marshall?
Is
Yeah.
the question. There's a lot of love for this movie.
I just read an article. I don't know. Is this an anniversary of the movie or something? Where I think it was Deborah Winger said she turned down the movie because she thought Madonna being in it would just make it a trashy joke. And she's like, if you see the rest of Madonna's movies, you'll see that I was right.
No, but
Not
wrong
a fan.
about this
I was
one.
going to say.
A good script and a good director, and you can make
It's a-
Madonna work.
This hits every note. This is
Yeah. So it's a couple of points because it's the women doing it for themselves, but a couple minus points because they don't always like sports movies for some reason. They're not always great. All right. I got 89.
Same. 89.
89.
I don't think it's as high. I said 79.
I think it's higher, actually.
We have a 5-point deduction, and we have one 5-point deduction. A League of Their Own is certified fresh at 79%.
Take it.
Wow. Under 80. People have it at 84.
Double check that, Chris.
Wow.
Well, continuing in the long tradition of pairing movie stars with monkeys, this next one is a family comedy starring Matt LeBlanc and a chimpanzee.
What?
Oh, yeah.
While Matt was at the height of his powers in real life, in this film, he plays a down-and-out pitcher recently demoted from the pros to the minor leagues. Making matters worse, the new third baseman is the team's former mascot,
A lot of
an
range.
unruly chimp with a talent for stickball.
Bang the drum slowly.
From 1996, Ed.
Ed.
It's a prequel to Ed TV.
The poster, minor league, major friendship.
Yeah, LeBlanc's at the height of his powers with friends. It's such a, I know, you got to figure he agreed to this before Friends took off, or who the hell knows.
This definitely looks like something that's a joke in a movie in the background,
Yeah.
this poster.
Right. Oh, yeah.
This is in the agent's office.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about this one. All right, didn't see it. It's got to be bad.
Come on.
But how bad?
You could be right, actually. This could be something that was just an overall deal he signed before he was famous.
It happens. All right, let's see. This is...
How fresh.
So you kind of wonder, like, if you're LeBlanc or whoever, when they're pitching, it's a chimp that plays third base. Like, aren't you just kind of out during the pit? It's a mule that kicks field goals, and you're the coach. Like, aren't you like, I'm an actor.
Good.
Like, okay.
Especially in the 90s.
Okay.
They hadn't quite worked this out yet.
I might have gone high.
Well, LeBlanc's plenty likable, and
Good kids
chimps
movie.
are always likable. Good kid movie. All right. You in? Mm-hmm. I said 9%.
20.
16.
Ed is rotten at 0.
Wow.
This is a perfect candidate for 0, Brian. I'm looking at you.
I
Like, this
know.
is what could be worse than this?
Yeah, you went real high for this.
I really did. I thought maybe a kids movie, they'd be a little more forgiving for a family film, but it's
No.
quietly one of my worst games.
Next up, we have this biopic about the life and legacy of the Sultan of Swat, the Big Bam, the Caliph of Clout, the Great Bambino.
Fuck this movie.
Talking about
Goodman.
Babe motherfucking Ruth, starring a perfectly cast John Goodman.
It's fucking 400 pounds.
The film follows the legendary baller from his orphanage days to his status as a New York Yankee idol from 1992, the Babe.
If you look at pictures of Babe Ruth in his prime, he was a little chubby. He was
Right.
rotund, but a professional
For the time,
athlete.
yeah.
But John Goodman, 375 pounds, comes strolling in.
Yeah, there was only one. The Babe. What year?
92?
Sorry.
I think 92.
Oh, 92.
92.
All right.
Shit.
Probably didn't go over well. I saw bits and pieces of
Yeah.
this movie. Goodman's perfectly serviceable. It's an interesting story, but
Seems like a good TV movie.
But what are we talking about here? I mean, again, Goodman's good. Probably got into the character, and the guy's story, Babe Ruth's story's interesting enough that you could just follow it, and you'd have a pretty serviceable plot. All right,
I'm scared of this one.
I am too.
I truly hate this movie.
Yeah, nobody cares, Brian.
Nobody cares about your input. All right, I'm going to say 41%.
I went barely rotten at 58.
I said 49.
The Babe is rotten at 47%.
Oh, good.
Now, this is interesting. A sports movie where the critics have it at 47 and the audience have it at 37.
Yeah.
You rarely see the audience lowering a sports movie.
Wait, does it focus on like addiction and stuff?
No.
Like drinking and food and
I don't know. People
This
didn't
is-
like it.
This is a family. Was pushed as a family friendly film. But it's rated PG. I mean, I don't know if we can look that up.
It says PG.
Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go. It's PG. Perfect. This is a family. This is supposed to be a family movie.
Okay.
And it's pandering.
Lastly, this nostalgic film is about a group of friends who idolize Babe Ruth
Yeah.
and have the summer of their lives as they play sandlot ball games, hit on the local lifeguard, and attempt to retrieve a signed baseball from the monstrous dog next door. While most of the kids in this film have unrecognizable names, the adults are played by Dennis Leary, Karen Allen, and James Earl Jones from 1993. The Sandlot.
And who's the voice? Is nobody. Remember, because it's all told in like narration.
All right. So this is kind of Goonies for people
Yes.
I'm
sometimes.
so fucking glad you said that
Which
because
is-
I'm in the minority of not liking this movie. I mean, it's okay. It's very middling.
I didn't think it was a classic. I didn't think people would still be talking
People
about it like they
fucking
are.
love
yeah.
this movie.
It's no Stand By Me.
No, not even close.
I never
But-
saw the movie, but in college in Isla Vista, the fat kid from The Sandlot just would show up every now and then
Nice.
and party with us.
Oh, I like that.
I'm willing to bet Fondelier loves this movie.
So the question is this could be an 83 and it could be a 59. Like we don't know. I'm clinging on to a smallish lead.
Are
I don't
you?
know. I think
I-
Gina's doing pretty well.
She is, but I still think I might be clinging on to a small lead.
Got that 5-point deduction.
She did, but then she went high on Ed.
16.
Oh, 16? Oh, yeah. You went 20
yeah,
or 22,
20.
whatever. Yeah. Well, then we could be pretty well knotted up. I haven't written anything down. I was just kind of doing the math in my head. All right. So now, is this one of those classics that really isn't very good and the critics don't really like it? I mean, Goonies would probably be that way. Like
Yes.
everyone has this fond memory for a movie that's 44% with the critics or whatever. We run into this a lot. But this, and I've never seen it, it just seems like it's a family favorite.
It's cute.
It's a beloved movie amongst a lot of people.
All right. I'm going to
locked in.
say 71.
Little lower at 61.
76.
The Sandlot is fresh at 64%.
Ooh.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
71.
Now, this is where the disparity makes sense, right?
89 with the audience. Gina, the 5 or whatever I just picked up there on you, that could have tilted it.
It was neck and neck.
Oh,
Still a pretty tight game. Gina Grad, congratulations. You made the podium.
thank you.
Bald Brian. Today is a good day.
Let's just leave me out of this.
I mean, you could double both of you could add everyone else's scores together, and you will still be lower than Bald Brian's
Goddamn.
71.
Ooh,
Go Dodgers.
It's not a
Kinda
bad
smart.
third place score.
Adam Carolla coming in with a big time score of 33,
Respectable.
That's good.
leaving us Gina Grad, who is used to disappointment.
fuck you.
Gina Grad, your score
Come on.
of 35 is good for second place. The Ace Man wins.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
I promise you I was winning before that one.
Obviously,
You're
you
winning
were.
by 3 or 4 points because I
Fuck.
made up 3 or 4 on that, or 5 or 6 on that.
Hated that game.
Yeah, very close.
Gina came from behind last week and got camed from behind this week.
You were up by 3
Wow.
Brutal.
in at the end of right before that one. When he was kidnapped in 63,
I was there.
you were 5.
I was there.
Oh, he
I
was
saw it go down.
he was kidnapped from Harrah's.
Harris Club Lodge.
Oh, Harris, yeah. My mom worked there too.
Well, maybe she was in on this. I mean,
She might have been in on it. Who knows? Maybe that's what broke up my mom and dad.